If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Hello, Christian Patriots, and welcome to Church and State, where we strive to plug you into the pew and plug you into politics. I'm your host, Caleb Collier. With me, as always, Pastor Gabe Blomgren.
Good morning, Caleb. How you doing?
Very well. It's good to see you again, as always.
All right. Well, we are getting plugged into politics. There's a lot going on politically right now. There's just a ramping up. So
yeah, truly there is, and so it's our pleasure to bring the good candidates on the show so that
Yes.
our audience can actually be an informed voter. But before we introduce our guest here, real quick, we've got a few events on the 12th. That's on Friday. We are going to be meeting at the Rosars out in Spokane Valley to go into March to Spokane Valley City Hall, where we will be having our fourth Freedom is the Cure rally. A lot of great speakers, so be out there by 4:30 at the Rosars. You'll see us. There'll be a big group of us there. Now, on Saturday, June 13th, we're also going to have the Liberate America event. This is at the Kootenai County Fairgrounds. There's going to be a whole slew of really good speakers here. It's a free event. You're going to have food, live music, and auction. Goes from noon all the way till 10 o'clock at night. I will be actually emceeing
you're
that
the
one.
MC.
I am indeed. So you'll have to hear my great political jokes. Everybody loves those.
Oh, yeah, those are classic.
So Kootenai County Fairgrounds, be there at noon. And then we're going to have Trevor Loudon as well in Post Falls. He's going to be talking about COVID-19 and Communist China as well. So that'll be on the 16th. And then last but not least, the big news for the entire week is we're going to be having Dinesh D'Souza on Church and State.
Yes, it's going to be on our live segment next Friday at 10:30.
Yes, so make sure to put that on your calendar as well. Now, let's get to our guest. So Marty Mclendon, I've known him for a few years now. Most people that have been kind of engaged in politics are aware of who this individual is. Now, he is running for lieutenant governor, and his website is electmarty.com. And Marty, just thank you so much for joining Church and State.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. It's interesting. I do want to say a couple of things that we've been doing over in Pierce County. And for those that don't know, it was the Pierce County chair, Republican Party chair for a few years after the 2016 run. And we started doing church and state functions. So I love the fact that you're Church and State Radio, because it's really that important of calling the church forward and where they're supposed to be salt and light in the government. The government's on its shoulders. And it's funny, a quick story before we get into the questions and so forth, but in 2014, I was praying, I was pastoring, I was campaigning, serving in the politics. And the story of King David. King David was anointed king long before he was legally king. And it wasn't until he was legally king before he could restore the temple. There was a biblical mandate to that. And so over the time, I realized that my calling, my assignment on this earth is to call the church forward from a kingly position. The idea here is you have to serve in a political office to draw the church forward. So we need the church to get engaged, not only to win elections, but to have the voice of truth at every discussion, every table. So,
and we have lost
a little bit of technical
audio there. Yes.
So we got you again, I think now, Marty. You were saying at the table we need them at every discussion. Is it where we heard you last?
Yeah, every discussion, every table. The bottom line is many things have happened over the last decade in our state that are really against our biblical values, against families, against everything. And so we need to get them back at the table. So that, first of all, wisdom and truth, salt and light are there. But these things don't happen because they know there's repercussions when these things happen, when people are engaged.
Excellent. All right. So on your website, actually, let's before we get into your website here, let's kind of discuss your family background. I know you're very proud of your family, as Gabe and I are as well. So just go ahead and give us kind of a brief history of your family, who you are, and why you got involved in politics.
Yep. I'm obviously a father, married to my wife for 20 years. We have a 23-year-old son. We have an 18-year-old daughter now and a 16-year-old daughter, a senior and junior. So this COVID thing has been crazy. But I grew up in Eastern Washington. I grew up in Quincy, Wenatchee, and Grand Coulee. So my dad worked ranches and he worked construction. So along the sort of Columbia River there. My mom drove truck or she stayed home. But her parents were farmers. My dad's parents were ranchers. It's just sort of a small town, good old fashioned values kid. Eagle Scout, graduated from Lake Roosevelt High School in Grand Coulee. Went to Seattle for the big school and UW and want to be a doctor. Ended up spending 13 years in healthcare and open heart surgery. Met my beautiful wife, who's a nurse, and still a nurse for over 30 years now. Had our son. We're like, okay, now what? One of us has to leave healthcare. I entered real estate and been in real estate for the last 21 years. I've been managing for about 15 of those years, and now I'm the statewide broker for Redfin for the entire state of Washington. Spokane's got a branch, and Vancouver's got a branch. The rest of them are in the Puget Sound. I love it. It's great. But in addition to that, for 6 years, we've been on the ACN network as well for Doug and Marty versus the World and Eyes on Washington. Pastored a church in Gig Harbor for about 5 years, and I was on staff in Port Orchard for about 5 more years. And then the call came really in 2010, where we had just gone through our second round of leukemia with my son. My daughter ended up being his bone marrow donor. And I had a lot of time to watch and a lot of time to pray. And I really felt the Lord say, you need to enter in, you need to run for office. And that was the beginning of the steep learning curve of why Christians should be engaged, why I'm called to it, and why all the things in my life have been dealt with bringing people together, common sense solutions, loving God, really believing in people, believing that God's got a purpose for them, and how you can make a difference in the political realm if you're elected, or helping other people get elected. Right. So that began my love affair with wanting to serve in the political arena on top of the other places we serve.
No, that's fantastic, because I mean, Gabe and I both have that same heart, is getting Christians involved,
off the bench, off the pew.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why we literally started the show and why we named it Church and State. Other than the fact that we had a politician and a pastor that I
love the fact that you're a pastor, Marty, and even though you're technically not on staff, you are always on staff. The shepherd staff never goes away. So whether you are a paid staff, the actual staff in your hand never goes away. I just know that. So thank you for your service in your local church, and thank you for smelling like sheep. I can smell the sheep on you.
That might have been one of the strangest statements you've ever made on our show. Yeah.
He knows what it means, though.
One of the things that I know in my spirit that this is the pulpit, really the place where we're reaching the most people. It's through media, it's through politics. In 2016, I did run for this position. Out of the blue, they go, a conservative Christian can't win statewide in Washington. I go, you're wrong. You just haven't given the people of Washington someone who actually shares their values, who's bold enough in it, who actually will stand on the principles. And I'm going to prove you wrong. And they're like, okay, whatever. And we came out of this, and we won the primary. They go, how did that happen with $30,000 and 40,000 miles in the car? Much more money involved than everybody else. There's no way. I go, but there is a way with God. You put God first, he'll make a way for us. And so to your point, though, at that point, when 1.4 million people cast a vote for a bold Christian in the state of Washington, there's hope. Mm-hmm. And you're realizing that that's a big pulpit to speak from, because they're seeing how you act, and they're seeing how you react to loss as well, not only victory, and what kind of how your heart is. And so whether it be the radio show, whether it be on TV or media or on the campaign trail, these are platforms we are called to be faithful with. Mm-hmm. And so that's my goal, is to be faithful with what I've been given.
Excellent. Yeah. So you ran before, like you had mentioned. Was that Commissioner of Public Lands? Is that or no? Was it?
It was for this position.
Oh, it was for that's right. That's right. Okay.
It was an open position. There were 11 people in that race. There are 11 people in this race, which is kind of unique and funny, if you ask me. There were 3 very big name Democrats last time, and 4 Republicans, and some, I think 3 independents. And it breaks out wide. The 3 Democrats spent over $2 million last time. There was a couple big name Republicans running last time that spent a lot of money, and it had to break the right way. And so I came out on top. I even beat Cyrus to be in the primary. lost in the general. But 1 week out from the general election, this is important for people that are thinking about this election and another 11 candidates. 3 different polls had us tied a week out. We just didn't have the resources to finish the race in King County. So this time's going to be different.
Excellent. All right. So what does the field currently look like for Lieutenant Governor?
This time, there are 4 Democrats. 2 of them are heavily favored. A former Congressman, Denny Heck, and then a very radical LGBTQ advocate, Marco Elias from North Kirkland area. On the Democrat side, they're very heavily funded. On the Republican side, it's a full field. We have 5 of us in the field. We have a Democrat that ran for Seattle City Council and lost. Now switched parties, became a Republican to run for this office. We've got a Boeing machinist, nice guy, he ran last time as well. We've got another guy, Joseph Brumbles. He's a patriot, good guy. And then we've got Dick Murray, who threw his name in last. He's a former state legislator, former county councilman, veteran. Also, he's probably we'll see. He's a challenging opponent. And then you got me, the one that was the nominee last time. And of course, I haven't changed. I've just gotten better. The issues have gotten worse. And it's even more important that we win this time. And on people on the campaign trail, I've always wanted to serve. I've always wanted to be obedient to the Lord's light, guiding. Now it's one of those, I want to win. I have to win. I'm ready to serve. There's a weird transition in your spirit where you know you're ready. That makes sense to you guys.
It does, yeah. And in fact, like you said, I'd like to echo that. This race, this year is so important. I mean, Washington State residents, they have to understand, they have to look at what has occurred through COVID-19, the overreaching, government actions by Inslee and his stooges. We've got to get good candidates, good constitutional candidates in these positions of authority.
The government overreach has caused such a firestorm of people waking up that my friend here, Caleb, he's already been a great recruiter for John Birch Society, but there's so many people waking up. It's just fertile ground. And on top of that, me as a pastor, I see people coming to church hungry. It's reminiscent of the days following 9/11. People are feeling a tension in the air and a stress. And it's interesting, Marty, you talked about how David was anointed at 17, and he was made for war. This is after he had killed Goliath, but he knew he's knowing in his head, I'm set up for kingship, and he never usurps Saul. He's just waiting in the wings, just like you, and I'm praying that God will lead you right beside still waters, right where you're supposed to lead. So, man, I'm believing that same thing for you, that during this time where the world is so mixed up and chaotic, you'll be a part of a solution for our state.
That's good.
Amen.
All right, so Marty, let's get into your website. As I said before, electmarty.com. But let's get into some of your platform positions. So as I'm looking through the website, it's very well done. Hats off to you on that one. I've seen some ones that are obviously done on a shoestring budget, but this one looks very sharp. And I'm going through here. You've got some great ones. Government accountability, congestion, veterans. No to extreme liberal policies. We're definitely going to have to address that one as well. But just go ahead and walk us through some of these things that you believe in and would bring to the table.
Yeah, the great thing about it is, and I always start off with those that don't know what Lieutenant Governor does, because oftentimes we've had people in this position for 20 or 30 years. You have one for 32 years, 20 years with Brad Owens. The fact that the current Lieutenant Governor, the one that defeated me last time, is going to be a Jesuit priest is just, I think it's a God thing. Totally, no way you can overlook that. But it's unique, but it's also underappreciated. The fact that you're both executive and legislative, that you can work within the legislative process to actually pull things to the fore that would never see the light of day, or stop things and say, no, it needs more sunlight to it, more exposure. You wouldn't have these 2 o'clock in the morning sort of like votes on comprehensive sex education, because it wouldn't happen. You preside over the Senate and control that, which was a lot of power. And you're the government when the governor's gone. So there's a lot more than that, but I'll touch on that later too. But within that, the office itself, the executive role, you have free will basically to take on things that you're passionate about. Not only to run legislation, but to actually use the bully pulpit to bring people together to solve solutions. And it's not in like one box. You're not in the OSBI or in the Commission of Public Lands or the governor where you're managing the whole thing. You have some, autonomy and some flexibility. So for that reason, there's some things that are my hot buttons, and it's on the website. And then, of course, Education is the number one. And of course, it's not your typical talking point from the Democrats or Republicans saying education is important. We understand it's important, but what we're doing right now is failing our kids. We spent $9 billion extra dollars over the last 9 years to fully fund education. You would think that the results would be better. They're not. If you look at the OSPI website, 1 in 5 students still drop out of high school. We're spending $15 billion a year, and still 20% of our kids aren't graduating. Of the ones that are graduating, 48% are actually at math level, and 49% are actually at science level. So half of our kids are failing even when they're graduating. Of that, only a third of them are going to college, and of the third that goes to college, 50% drop out with massive college debt. And of the half that graduate college, of the third that go to college, 54% are underemployed or unemployed in the field they went to school for. This is not working. It was designed by the UW. It's called Core 24. I've got to change that. On the flip side of that, there are 7.1 million jobs available right now, pre-COVID numbers, in the trades that are going unfilled, that we have to import labor for. It makes no sense. So I want to basically first take out Core 24. I want to pass legislation that exposes our kids to auto shop, wood shop, metal shop stuff in middle school and junior high. And then I want to work and actually partner with the Employment Security Department, actually get real market data into the high school, so that those 70% of the kids that aren't going to college, that they know about different career paths that are available to them right away. And they know that a certified mechanic right now starts out at $80,000 a year, goes up to $120,000 a year with no college debt. And then you take it a step farther. You start exposing them sooner, giving them different career paths options, giving them real market data so they actually are filling the jobs that are needed. And then you work out with nonprofits or private sector, and you go, okay, labor union, okay, carpenters, okay, electric, build us a center of excellence. We'll provide the students, you provide the skilled labor to train them, have a job. Same thing with our tech sector. You go to Microsoft, Google, Zillow, who are importing H-1B visas and say, no, tell you what, build a center, we'll provide the students an accreditation, you train them to work for your company. So when they graduate high school, they have a good paying job in the tech industry. We can do this, but we got to change the system that's been in place since World War II.
Right.
We don't, we could be number one. Even in the system we have, we're 12th in the nation and 38th in the world. That's got to change. That's one of them.
Yeah, no, and that's a big issue. And yeah, the funny thing is the response from the Democrats, from the liberal left, is obviously bigger government and to throw more money at it, which is your tax dollars. And that is ridiculous. Einstein's quote of defining crazy, right?
The insanity definition of doing the same thing over and over, expecting the same different results.
I talked to a company up in Everett the other day on this note. They train apprentice electricians, and within a couple of years, they're journeymen, and they're making 70, 80, 100 grand a year, and they train them on the job. He goes, look, I want government out of the way. I go, that's exactly right. We need to let the kids know what's available and partner with those that actually do a good job of these things. The same thing when it deals with homelessness and all that kind of stuff is there are 8 nonprofits, Christian organizations that are doing a great job. We should be facilitating and giving them the help to do the job the government can't do well. Number 2, and I won't go down the whole website, but I'm really passionate about is government accountability. You've heard every politician talk about this for years.
Yeah,
right?
And it never happens.
It's not rocket science. It is really not hard. It never happens. They say it and they do whatever. There's been cleanup bills. A couple issues. I'll say this first. Every state agency right now has rules writing authority. They make their own rules. They write their own WACs or whatever, and they enforce them in a way that doesn't make any sense. First of all, they with our taxpayer dollars, they hire lobbyists with our taxpayer dollars, and they lobby legislators with our taxpayer dollars to grow the agency. It has nothing to do with service to the people. At the same time, they have a fiscal year, and every year at the end of that fiscal cycle, if they don't spend all of their money that's been allotted to them, they lose it.
Right.
So at the end of every fiscal year, they blow money on just about everything, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. There is a simple bill to say that no matter what, you cannot lose your money. It's fixed. We're budget for it anyway. You're not going to lose it. Use it wisely here. And then you can incentivize cost savings. If you find ways to innovate, to deliver a service in a better way, to actually save money, a small portion of that, we can figure out later, can go back to the employees that found it as a reward to incentivize the behavior. You can tie a portion of it to some kind of retirement fund. but the lion's share can be tied to something that everybody's passionate about: school construction funding, school education, whatever it may be. The point is you incentivize the right behavior. And then you have the stick. Every public facing agency, the DOL, DMV, LNI, DSHS, whatever, when people do an interface with them, we should be able to survey the service we got, and they should be held accountable to the service to the public.
Wow.
And so those are things we can do. Think about it, right?
Yeah, accountability
you
in
mean
government.
accountability
Yeah.
and service, like doing a good job.
It sounds like how it was
And then
originally
not
designed.
spending, gosh, incentivizing not spending, that is so conceptual, because it's just I've done construction on state jobs and been a federal employee, and it's just like the discouragement of saving money, being a good steward. The Bible talks all about it, being good stewards, and that is not good stewardship, just spending money recklessly so that you can have a upped budget the following years. This is great stuff, Marty.
Yeah, I would agree.
you.
Now, the one that I wanted to make sure to discuss with you was no to extreme liberal policies, because truly, when you look at what is occurring in Washington State, it is these liberal policies that has taken this state that should be a great state. We've got incredible resources.
Oh yeah.
Tech side, agriculture, across the board.
Lumber.
But the state is sinking, and it's sinking a lot faster. And the liberals just seem to be punching holes in the hull of the boat. We can fix this. Boom, boom, we're sinking a little bit faster. So let's address that with you.
The bottom line is, as to your point, there's 11 climate zones. Washington State is one of 3 states in the nation that could be its own nation. I mean, literally, we're that rich with like with timber, with the airline industry, with energy, with water, with you name it, and agriculture and ranching. We are the breadbasket of the world, and that's through technology, through the dams, through the central valves. It's great. And yet you have a government now, these liberal policies that they say no to building, say no to actually managing forests wisely, say no to families. Basically, anything smacks of good stewardship, to Gabe's point, is defeated. Anything that smacks of values, and basically there's a mindset from a liberal ideology that says the government knows more than people. That people don't know how to take care of their own lives. The conservative mindset says no, people know best. They know closest. They know how to innovate. Small businesses, churches, people, how to raise their kids, how to educate their kids. So you have this war thing, and right now it's gotten so crazy. We're talking about in Seattle, where I'm in Tacoma, Gig Harbor area right now. Road diets. What the heck is that? Okay, so you're going to limit how much you can drive. We're going to tax the head tax on businesses, so every employer, you're punished for actually producing more jobs. We have to be open for business. We actually have to reduce this red tape. The fact that we have 250,000 home shortage, it was created arbitrarily through regulation and red tape. The Growth Management Act is atrocity. It's part of these radical liberal thing. It's basically to shut down building. When we talk about, this whole this push from Inslee and others about this green stuff and whatever, well, you're causing the problem. When you shut down a forest, when you don't allow logging, when you create tender boxes and not having good forest management, you create a carbon footprint. You create, these huge burns. So these crazy liberal policies start there, but then it goes, anything smacks of values or family. I'll say this: the comprehensive sex education bill, I know it was atrocious. It's pornographic. It is wrong. I'm praying that it's going to be on the ballot. We'll get rid of it. Well, that's the tail end of it. There's about 40% of that's already in place through our school districts. And that is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Our parents have been basically shut out of schools. At 13, you can get a health clinic and go get an abortion without parental notification. Now, we've got to fight back from our value standpoint. But I'll give you an example in your show. And it's not in Spokane, it's not in Eastern Washington, but it's an example that plays out all across this state because of these bad policies. In 1984, back when I was a young man, just almost graduating high school, inner city Seattle, predominantly black neighborhood, had the highest percentage of 2-parent homes, highest percentage of home ownership, highest graduation rate in the state.
Wow.
Okay, and the lowest crime rate. 35 years later, with the same party rule, Democrat Party rule, with these policies, they have the lowest 2-parent home rate, the lowest graduation rate, the highest crime rate, and the lowest home ownership rate in the state. And it's because of these policies that destroy family, destroy values, and work against anything that we believe we hold dear. And so, and then they're told that if they don't go to college, back to my original point, that somehow that's demeaning for them. And so they're basically creating victims out of it. It's not right. So I will be against anything that enslaves people to the government, that goes against our Christian values in that way. And the bottom line is we have to let people to be more free, allow them to have opportunity to rise above themselves and make a better future for their kids and grandkids. And the whole idea of this is something too from the bully public from the lieutenant governor. You know, the number one indicator for success for kids is a two-parent home. So I'm going to be a champion for families, for restoration of families, for staying together for the kids and for a future for our kids.
Thank you.
That is phenomenal to hear. And yeah, you know, they've separated families. They've actually provided incentives to actually separate, to be a single mother. And then they've taken away purpose from people's lives. So they've established government as the big daddy system that'll take care of you from cradle to grave. And then they've removed any sense of purpose from these individuals. And because of that, it's basically it's provided a tinderbox for these individuals. And this is currently why you see we're in the state that we are in right now. All right, Marty, we really only have about a minute left, so I wanted to make sure that we give you the last minute here to give your stump speech, get people to get out there, support you, and vote for you.
I'm Marty Mclendon. I thank you for the time. For those that are listening, I am the only, a bold Christian conservative Republican in the race. For Lieutenant Governor, you need someone you can trust that will be the same today as they are next year. I will stand on values. I will defend your constitutional rights. I will fight for families, and knowing that these common sense solutions will work. And if we put God first, which we will, fight for families and fight for this nation, we will win in the end. But we got to win this election. I'm number 11 on the ballot, so you got to look for me. You got to tell your friends. Marty Mclendon for Lieutenant Governor. I appreciate your prayers, your financial support, and your vote. God bless you.
All right, that's great. And go ahead and plug your website again, and how people are able to donate to your campaign.
Wonderful. Yeah. My website is electmarty.com. There's a donate button right there. You can donate up to $4,000 per person. It's really fantastic, but even $10 or $20 really goes a long way to get the word out. That's the key. We have 60 days left until the primary. Got to win the primary, then we got to win the general. But for the future of our kids and great-grandkids, please vote Marty Mclendon. Go to electmarty.com and donate too. Thank you.
Yeah, and the radio show was Doug and Marty Take on the World?
Doug and Marty versus the World.
Versus the World. There we go. All right. Excellent.
At 10 a.m. on Saturdays. Yep.
All right. Perfect. Well, Marty, thank you so much for joining Church and State. We really appreciate it. All right. Church and State is brought to you in part by Covenant Church and Mountain View Vital Medicine. Always remember the tree of liberty is most likely a birch. And with that, Church and State is out.
God bless.
Man, he just got it.
Amen. I love it.
Yeah. I've been saying that how long now?